Hello teachers, and welcome to Give Me 5 Book 2 Unit 1. This is our MiniTUT series and we're on Lesson 1, Vocabulary. And for our Unit 1 and Book 2 we are dealing with sports. And we've got a wonderful background of the school gym and playground and sports fields. And just a side note, people say I like sport and people say I like sports. Both can mean the same thing. Now, just to make it clear, sports means different kinds of sport, okay? We have football, baseball, tennis. These are all sports. So if sometimes people get a bit confused about the noun, that is how you can deal with it. It's different kinds of. Alright, so we're going to take a look at the vocabulary and boom, here it is. Now I've given you a warning sign because it's at this kind of level in most book series where kids are exposed to present continuous, and that means ing. And so there is a possibility or there is a chance of confusion. So for example, singing, okay? He or she is singing. He or she is swimming, okay? And of course, we cannot have he or she is basketball, okay? But we can have he or she is playing basketball. Now, the reason for that, of course, is because these words over here are gerunds, okay? And it's important for us as the teacher to be very clear on gerunds and how to use them properly in a sentence to make sure that our students do not get confused. So, let's take a look over here. And for me, I would be throwing up a sentence pattern so that my students can substitute these words and use them correctly in context. So for example, I might draw a picture and I might have, for example, let's say for example here is a boy and this is now Tim, okay? And so Tim, and I'd have my students read and say, Tim likes basketball. Okay, Tim likes baseball. Tim likes swimming. And the meaning is that Tim likes the activity of it. Okay, that is what he's doing. Now, I will then further explain it for my students that if we want to have it as a verb, Tim is swimming, and I might even say Tim is swimming now. And then if we want to describe Tim footballing now, let's just say, for example, of course we cannot have footballing. We would have to have the auxiliary verb, Tim is playing football now. Okay, so I need to make sure that my students understand that differentiation. You don't need to explain it, you just need to give a few examples to help them understand the context. Now, I am jumping the gun a little bit, okay? I am jumping the gun. I'm simply helping you guys understand that you need to contextualize these words, these nouns, and make sure that the students are not being confused with the gerund. Okay, so now I'm going to show you 3 different ways on how we can approach the vocabulary, which is what the point of this is all about. And here's method number 1. I would throw these sounds up on the board. I'd go, all right, boys and girls, follow me. B-A-S, say bass. Ket, H-O-C, say hawk. K-E-Y, key, B-O-A-R, boar, D-D-duh, sorry. And once I've got these 5 or 6 sounds on the board, I would then say, all right, team number 4, stand up, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, give them some points. Team number 2, stand up, please. Good job. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so good. Team number 1, 1, 2, uh-oh. Then team number 3, all right, blah, blah, blah. 1, 2, okay, not too bad. Then I would throw the next words up. Boys and girls, follow me. Say base, va, lead, ball, foot, skate. And of course, what I'm doing is I'm breaking it up into the syllables. We would then have another activity. Maybe I might have students standing up over here. And I would then say, all right, read number 1, read number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, 5, 6, 7. And then the teacher would shout out, number 4. And the kids would say, ball. And then I'd give them a point. Number 7, give them a point. Base, it's number 1. I'm sorry, number 1, base. And then I'd give them a point, okay? So you could have your team versus team. You could have student versus student. It's up to you. And now that is just simply a warm-up, because what I want to do is I want to now move it into a listening exercise. So once I'm satisfied that the students have got their listening focus, they have phonemic awareness, I will then give them a little piece of paper, and then of course the students are going to write down their name. Tim is going to write down his name, Tim at table number 3, let's say. And I would then say, all right, boys and girls, follow me. Number 1, write down sigh, and then the kids have to write down sigh. Number 2, bore, bore. Number 3, hawk, hawk. And then of course we finish this, right? After that, depending on the students, I might ask them to exchange that piece of paper with their friends. I might collect it. And then, of course, I would then circle off of the board. I'd say, all right, boys and girls, number 1, say sigh. Number 2, say bore. Number 3, say hawk. Okay? Now, that is one way you can do it. Another way you could do it, if you think that that's kind of boring, let's say, you could then have a bingo table. Now, of course, if you can have a bingo table or bingo card, I should say, make sure that the students are copying down the sounds, the phonemes, perfectly. Okay, if they're not copying down the sounds perfectly, they're going to have problems later on with identifying the sounds. So make sure that these sounds are perfectly copied. Walk around the classroom. Once this is all then filled up, then you can play your bingo game. Now, there's only 3 spaces here, 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, and that means that there's 9 blocks. And the reason for that, of course, is because once the teacher has finished modeling, okay, the teacher has then said the sounds, you can then get a student to come up over here, and the student can say sounds. And that's just to make sure that the students are getting maximum amount of listening and speaking in a lesson. Okay, so that's method number 2. Now I'm going to move on to method number 3, and this is how I would do it in my class, and the reason why I'm going to do it this way is because I am very familiar with my own students. So, I'm going to throw the words on the board just like so. As I'm writing them down, I'm going to encourage my kids to read along with me. Boys and girls, number 1, say football, and everybody shouts out football. Good job. Number 2, say basketball, and everybody shouts out basketball. Good job. Cycling, and then rollerblading. Okay, and as I'm writing it down, I will then listen with my ear, and I'll then say, good job, Tim, you get 1. Good job, Sally, you get 1. Good job, Mavis, you get 1. And good job, Bob, you get 1. And I'll give my students their points, okay? If I want to play it, that I want to give them team points, then that is fine. I could play it that way too. So once I've got all of the words on the board, I'm now going to underline. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to then take my marker and I'm going to say, all right, boys and girls, look at me. Say football. And the kids are going to shout football. Now I'm going to choose individual students. All right, Harry. Harry, stand up, please. Harry. And then Harry has to read basketball. If Harry is correct, good job, Harry. I give you 1 point. So I'll give Harry 1 point over there. Next one. Sue, stand up. Sue stands up. And then she reads, good job, Sue. You get a point. Okay, so you get the idea. Basically, we want to keep the kids' attention. We need our students to maintain 100% focus. as we build up the board. Now, once I've completed doing that activity, I have all of the target language that I need underlined properly. And now I'm going to have another activity where I'm going to reinforce those sounds. So I will then ask perhaps 2 students to stand up. So this will be quite a fun activity, let's say, for example, and we have, we have Sue and we have Bob. And the teacher will then say, all right, guys, number 4. And they have to say, ket. Good job, Sue. Number 9, va. Good job, Bob. Bass. Number 11, bass. Good job, Bob. Number 4, ket. Good job, Sue. Number 2, ball. Good job, Bob. Okay? And so I'm going to say the number. Number 3, and the kids are then going to say the sound, and only the sound. After that, you can rotate as many students as you need and want. That is fine. And now we move on to the next activity. All right, boys and girls, take a look at this one. And the teacher is going to model. I'm going to say, all right, boys and girls, now I've written down here A, B, C, D because I don't want to confuse with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that is why I've got A, B, C. I'm going to say, all right, boys and girls, word A is hockey. And so I'm going to ask a student to come up over here, and this would be student Lucy. Lucy comes up here, and I say, Lucy, hockey. And Lucy goes, hockey. Good job, Lucy. You get a point. Lucy, sit down. And so I'm going to ask Lucy to sit down from that one. Next one. And then you go through, you go through, you go through. Now, the idea, of course, is for us to model. And the idea, of course, is for our weaker students, such as Lucy, to have an opportunity in their own time and in their own speed to participate in the class. Now, why do we do it that way? Easy. Because now we're going to have a competitive activity. And this competitive activity is going to be maybe for the slightly stronger students. So we have 2 students. We have, let's say, for example, Dave and Debbie. And Dave is ready to go. Debbie's ready to go. And then the teacher is going to speak out the words. All right, Dave and Debbie, ready? A is going to be baseball. And then, of course, Dave and Debbie are going to write down baseball as quickly as possible. Good job. I give them a point. Next one, Dave and Debbie. Word B is tennis. Tennis. I give them a point. And then, of course, you as the teacher can rotate as many times as you want to. Now, this is a very competitive activity, and it's designed to get students' energy level up. But of course, the idea is for them to be able to identify the syllables in a word. And of course, at this stage, we are really trying to push into their heads how to memorize English words and how to then write them down clearly, carefully, and syllabically. This is not a phonetic exercise. This is a syllabic exercise, okay? So keep that in the back of your mind. Okay. Now, one other thing that I want to point out is that the colors are really important. Make sure that you don't confuse the situation by having different colors with different things. These colors over here represent the syllables. And so your chalkboard or your whiteboard setup is super duper important. All right, teachers, well, that is it for today. And I really do hope that you had a lot of fun with that. Let me know in the comments how it worked out for you. Let me know if you had success, if you had any failures. I would like to know. But either way, good luck with your teaching, and I will see you next time. Thanks for